It's the Kyle Hyman Show on Redeemer Radio.
This is Kyle Hyman, and joining us to talk about our finances and some tips, suggestions, mostly of things to consider, things to think about when we're dealing with our finances. And joining us to talk about it is Jeremy Swonger from Braun Wealth. Thanks for being here, Jeremy.
Well, thank you for having me, Kyle.
So, start off here. If I have $5 that I'm looking to invest, is that money better spent buying lottery tickets or GoPro stocks?
Well, I don't know about GoPro specifically, but yeah, we all would love to win the lottery. You know, I know we all probably have some dreams or let that kind of get in our mind, but obviously we know truthfully that the statistics show that winning the lottery is not very likely. And so taking that $5 and investing it long term in the market shows that it would have a much better return and more useful later down in your life.
Yeah, the potential is probably a little bit more slanted that way. So for us as Catholics, hopefully a lot of us, hopefully all of us, are looking at different charities and things that we can donate to. So wanted to talk a little bit about some of the tax implications of donating to charities. What are some ways that we could save some money on our taxes by supporting charities that we believe in?
Yeah, one of the first ones that comes to my mind that we've been dealing with lately at our practice is for those individuals that are 70 and a half, have to take required minimum distributions on their traditional IRAs. Many of them have been using those to donate to charity, and so it's called a qualified charitable distribution. It allows them to pass that money on and not have to worry about being taxed on that. They don't need it or want to use it. So they're passing that on to their favorite charity or a lot of times their local churches. So that's been very powerful thing to use.
Just to clarify, instead of pulling money from a savings or checking account to donate that you were going to donate anyway, you would instead pull from this IRA because then you wouldn't pay taxes on the income?
Yeah, you already have to take it by IRS tax code. So instead of having just to take that, pay the taxes on it, and maybe then transfer it in cash, you can do it as a qualified charitable distribution from your IRA. So yeah, it's a very effective way to use that tool.
And what about other charitable donations? Are they always tax deductible, or does that vary based on situation?
Yeah, and to be honest, the best way to figure this out is if you do use an accountant or CPA to do your taxes, have a discussion with them. With some of the tax changes that we had at the end of 2017 with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, some of that may have changed for you. And so this being 2018 being the first year under those tax rules, that would be something that you want to take a look at. But and how much that may affect you with some of the deductions and because of the changes in the tax codes and standard deductions, things like that.
Okay. And then for those that have invested in stocks in the past and maybe have seen a return on that investment, are you better off pulling the money out of the stocks before donating that to charity or donating the stocks itself to charity? Is there a tax implication there?
Well, yeah, a lot of times if someone's going to be donating stocks to charity, it's usually because it's an appreciated asset. So meaning that it has grown really nicely, and if it's in a taxable account, that means they're going to have a lot of capital gains. So they may just donate that appreciated stock as is to charity, which is a great thing. If they want to take a loss, they may take a underappreciated stock or something they can take a loss on in their account and then take that cash and donate that to charity. So they may be able to take that loss again with figuring out their taxes or working with your accountant or CPA to figure that out, which approach might be best. But yeah, there's different strategies depending on what stock you're looking at and how that's performed.
So if part of your goal is to save money and invest money so that you can be more generous in the future, rather than maybe either instead of or in addition to being able to provide for yourself in retirement. Is there a better strategy one way or the other for that?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No, it's just depending on each tax year. If you already have a lot of gains for the year, you might want to take that loss to offset it and then donate the cash. If it's early on in the year and you have a stock that's becoming a large portion of your portfolio and starting to dominate the results of your particular account, taking some of that long holding stock that you had and donating that would be maybe a better opportunity for you, or a better option for you.
And then what about leaving a charity as a beneficiary in your will? What is your recommendations or strategies there?
Yeah, I mean, you can use it in a couple different ways there. Obviously, that was very important to you, is kind of leaving a legacy, as they say in our industry a lot. But sometimes you can use certain items that you can pass on to a charity that would have maybe high tax implications to your family. Because when you don't pass it on to your spouse, then the taxation is very different. So if it goes to your spouse, they can usually assume it as their own, make it their own. And then when that asset is then passed to children or other family, that sometimes, depending on what that's invested in, can be very taxable and kind of catches people off guard, the amount of tax they have to pay on it. So yeah, giving it to charity is a good way to do that. Again, some of the changes, if we're looking at state taxes, things like that, some of the changes would be that we had from that Tax Cut and Job Act is the raising of the estate tax up to about $11.18 million. So that came from about $5.5 million. So for those people that were using it for estate planning purposes to get around that tax, that's been lifted so much higher. Maybe those same parameters or the same reasons why you did that are no longer needed.
Okay.
And so you want to revisit that again with your planner or, with your accountant.
Okay. We're talking with Jeremy Swonger from Braun Wealth. You can find information about them at braunwealth.com and talking about different tax implications and ways to support charities. I know one of the things that we do here at Redeemer Radio is you can donate a vehicle. I actually did this myself. My wife and I, we had a van that seemed like the hassle of cleaning it up and listing it and having people come over and test drive it. It just seemed like more of a hassle than it was going to be worth. We went through the website on redeemerradio.com and they came, picked up the vehicle. A little bit later, we get a tax deduction. Redeemer Radio gets a check. It was really simple. So as far as like donating items rather than, so we've talked about, donating money, donating stocks, pulling from your IRA, different things like that. What about donating things to a charity, either something that they can use or something that they can sell, I guess? Is there same kind of tax incentives for that?
I'm not sure, not being, a CPA or a tax accountant and not having much experience with that myself, just dealing with the stocks and bonds and some of the investment side of it. That would be, again, a good question for the CPA or accountant for that and how that might affect you now in 2018, 2019. And your taxes there.
The other issue I think a lot of Catholics might be thinking about with Catholic education being so expensive is if a 529 is a good option for them. What is your suggestions or recommendations for those that are thinking about Catholic education, college education, and saving for that?
Yeah, I think it's a great tool to use. And with that tax changes came along the ability to use up to $10,000 a year out of a 529 for private education, both in K through 12, was previously not allowed. So with that change came that option. So it can only be used for tuition. So some of it's a little bit limiting. So those people that have Coverdale or education savings accounts out there are a little bit more flexible with those, but those have income limits and have $2,000 a year that you can put into it. So it's not a whole lot you can do, but utilizing the 529 plan is great, and it's a great opportunity to use that, and I highly recommend it.
Can the 529 plan be used for elementary education?
For private education?
Yeah.
Yes, it can. So it could be used for private education, like I said, up to $10,000 a year for tuition only. It won't cover like normal college expenses. It can cover, room and board and other. There's a long list of things you can find on their website too and everything. But for anything that's private education before college would be $10,000 a year maximum, only for tuition.
So could I, like I've got kids in Catholic school right now, can I put money in this year to use yet this year or possibly next year, or is it more of a long term? It has to be there for a while, or
No, essentially you can. Yeah, you be taking it out while you're putting it in and getting the tax deduction off of it. So the maximum you can do is $1,000 tax credit, which is it's at 20%. So $5,000 goes in, and you get the tax credit.
I was reading an article on your website, and you quote a statistic that says annual costs for tuition and fees and room and board of more than $48,510 per year for the average private 4-year college. $48,000 per year. Mm-hmm. A lot to be saving up for, I suppose.
Right.
And does that have to be for your specific biological children, or could this also be used if a grandparent wants to save up for their grandchildren, if a godparent wants to offer some money for Catholic education for a godchild? Can it be used that way as well?
Yeah, it actually can. So, we definitely have grandparents that have money that they're funding in for their grandchildren, for their education. I've seen employers do it for their employees' children.
Oh, interesting.
We have one client that does that. So, you can. As long as you have Social Security, date of birth for the child, and state what you are. You're the custodian of the account for the benefit of them. And, you can save for their college. So, yes, be very generous.
Yeah. Well, I know you've got more articles and videos and calculators on your website. So where should we send people for more information about what you guys are up to?
Yeah, so we go to braunwealth.com. Again, like I said, with a lot of the calculators, we use pretty simple, basic calculators on there to find out some great information. I have a link on that page there for different things that I'm doing out there right now. So you're welcome to go and see some of the events that we have or some of the speaking engagements that we're a part of.
All right. Again, it's braunwealth.com, BRAUN wealth.com. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great.